Welcome to a quick look at the Pathblazer experience from a parent's perspective. We're logged in as a student. Notice that my student has Pathblazer Reading and Math as well as Odyssey. We are going to start with Math. Your student may have assignments that are aligned to a universal screener like NWA MAP or the Renaissance Learning STAR Reading and Math or Early Literacy Test. They may have assignments aligned to the standards or even an assignment that their teacher has made. We're going to look here at the kindergarten math example. Let's take a quick look. So you'll see that the student has an instruction activity, supported practice, independent practice, and quiz, all on adding within 10. So we follow Fisher and Fry's gradual release of responsibility. We teach and then we help students take ownership of that learning through supported and independent practice before they come to the quiz. The quiz will either be 10 or 5 questions that pull from a bank of questions. Once in a while there will be this resource. This is just an optional offline PDF that you can print and will give the student more practice on the skill that they're learning. These resources are completely optional. They're not at all required, just more practice for the student. You'll notice that they also have another lesson that has the instruction, supported practice, independent practice, and the quiz within this particular example here. Now, to get back to the home page, I could just click the house, but if I just want to go back one screen, then up here I can just click Operations and Algebraic Thinking, back to kindergarten, back to math. So it's kind of like breadcrumbs. You just kind of follow them backwards to get where you want. I'm going to go into the 2-digit addition and take a quick look here at the instruction.
Oh, hi, Aaron here. Today, you're going to learn about solving addition problems with regrouping. Have you ever played basketball? Zoe's basketball team scored 38 points in the first half of the game. They scored 45 points in the second half. What was their final score?
Notice students are not able to fast forward that first time through. They can always rewind to hear their teacher again, but they can't fast forward. And we always start with our lesson goals. Research says that we can raise achievement as much as 27% when students know the goals of what they're learning.
Zoe realizes these aren't easy numbers to add, but she thinks regrouping might be helpful. Guess what? Zoe has just given us our learning goal. Today's learning goal is to solve addition problems with regrouping. All right, let's get to it.
We chunk everything into really small segments. So after this section here, if the student wants to go back in here again, then that fast forward button does become available so they can fast forward just to the part they want to hear that second time. But let's go ahead and get into the instruction.
Now let's check out what you need to know. Let's check back in with Zoe and her basketball team. Zoe's basketball team scored 38 points in the first half of the game. They scored 45 points in the second half. What was their final score? Let's write the numbers and model them using base 10 blocks. For 38, we'll show 3 tens rods and 8 unit cubes. For 45, we'll show 4 tens rods and 5 unit cubes. Now that we've written and modeled our numbers, we can start adding.
So notice we have that multiple representation for the conceptual understanding. Students are going to see the example with the base 10 blocks as well as with the numbers. And then we're going to walk them through those steps of how to complete the problem.
We'll follow some steps. Step 1, add the ones. What is 8 ones plus 5 ones? 13 ones. Whenever we combine the ones and get more than 10, we can exchange 10 unit cubes for a tens rod. This is called regrouping. So, step 2, regroup. 13 ones is 1 10 and 3 ones. Look how we regroup the 10 unit cubes to make one tens rod. Notice that we put the new tens rod in the tens column? To show this with the numbers, we put a 3 in the ones column and a 1 in the tens column. This shows the exchange for one tens rod. Step 3. Add the tens. What is 1 10 plus 3 tens plus 4 tens? 1 plus 3 is 4, and 4 plus 4 is 8. So, 38 plus 45 is 83. Look at the base 10 blocks. We have a total of 8 tens rods and 3 unit cubes. The sum is 83. Zoe's basketball team scored 83 points. Now you've got it. Let's take a look at what you learned. Today you learned about solving addition problems with regrouping. Step 1, add the ones. Step 2, regroup. Remember, we need to regroup whenever we have more than 10 ones. Step 3, add the tens. Have you got it? Great. Then let's move on. But if you're not sure, no problem. You can just watch this again.
So you can see that simple teaching piece that's really important with our explicit instruction. We talk to students as if they're right there with us in a conversation, engaging them in what they're learning. So now the student will go back and work on supported practice. This little asterisk tells them what they should click on. It's their next activity that they're ready to do. Actually, I'm going to show supported practice, but I'm going to do that in reading. So let's go at a higher level here, 4th grade, informational text. So you can see the student has already finished the instruction. Now they're ready for that supported practice. We see the little asterisk there. Again, we do have the resource option that will give them different practice examples. This one has a different reading passage, think it through questions, write it out questions. Once again, that's completely optional for the student. And then the quiz has these little arrows that indicate if a student doesn't get at least a 70% on the quiz, they will go back through that instruction supported practice again, take that quiz that second time. And because the quiz pulls from a bank of questions, they may not see any of the same questions that second time. Research indicates students need at least a mastery of 70%. So let's go ahead and look at the supported practice. Now you'll notice that our activities do bookmark. So if I click start, I would just pick right up where I left off. But let's go ahead and go back to the beginning so we can get a little bit of a reminder of what was covered in that explicit instruction.
Hello, I'm Jason, and I'm here to help you practice explaining events in an informational text.
Now, notice that the student can fast forward this time because they've already gone through this once. And there is also the transcript option so they can see what's being said. So let's say they decide to fast forward. Here's a quick reminder of what was covered in that explicit instruction.
You're about to read an informational text titled Dry as Dust, Drought in California's Central Valley. As you read, think about how the ideas are connected to one another.
We do provide a lot of supports for students that are optional in supported practice. They can choose to have things read aloud to them like this caption under the picture.
A boat pier and a dried-up lake bed in California shows the drought conditions.
Notice it is read by a real person. We model fluent reading. We don't highlight words in 3rd grade and above as we read aloud to them. Oftentimes in K2, that option is available. But again, the read aloud is optional. We also have words that are underlined. Students can click on those to get the definition read aloud, sometimes even see a picture. And those are just there because we know those are important to understanding. But again, they don't have to click on those. The triangles, however, are not optional. They do have to open these. And what will happen when they click on them is that it will open a metacognitive thought bubble to help them think about what they're reading while they're reading it. And we do have a little bit of a delay. They're not required to have it read aloud to them, but we do want to really encourage them to read those questions and think about what they're reading. So there's a delay between the time that they click on the triangle and when they can click on continue. Okay, so once they've Opened all of those, then we can move on to the questions.
Why is the Central Valley suffering from extreme drought?
So in the explicit instruction, cause and effect were explained to students. We modeled that for them with a different reading passage. Now we're going to see if students can find that on their own. They're able to access the reading passage still, have it read aloud to them. They can also access those vocabulary words, but the metacognitive thought bubbles are no longer available. And we put in smart distractors, so if a student is making a common mistake, we'll know why. For example, a lot of times with cause and effect, students answer with the effect when we ask for the cause. So let's choose that wrong answer, and let me show you how the response is specific to that error.
Choice A is not correct. The text states that as underground water is used, wells can run dry. However, dry wells would be an effect of the drought, not a cause. Look for relationships between events in the text to find the cause of the drought.
So you can see how that's specific to that mistake. John Hattie's research says when we give feedback as students are learning a new skill, we can raise achievement as much as 37% because we help them learn it correctly the first time. So two students can be working on the same quiz and get different feedback if they're making different mistakes. Let me choose another wrong answer so I can show you what I mean.
Choice B is not correct. The text actually mentions that farmers may not have enough water for their crops. Look for relationships between events in the text to find the cause of the drought.
And if students answer incorrectly twice, then we do tell them what the correct answer is and explain it to them.
The correct answer is D. There hasn't been enough rain or snow to fill up waterways. Look at paragraph 2 below. These sentences show the cause of the extreme drought in the Central Valley. Because of changing weather patterns, too little rain and snow has fallen to fill up lakes and streams. Make sense?
So this is a safe place for students. They're not penalized if they answer incorrectly. They get feedback so that as they're learning and making mistakes, then they're going to learn from those mistakes. And our goal is to help them make those mistakes during supported and independent practice so that when they come to the quiz, they really have confidence and have taken ownership of that learning. I'm going to go back to the home here. And we're going to take a quick look at Odyssey. Your students may or may not have this option. If they do, it's just some supplemental science and social studies. If they don't have an assignment, then everything will be opened up to them on grade level. So this student is a third grader, down to second and up to fourth. So one grade level below, one grade level above. Same thing with social studies. Again, everything in the library on third grade level, down to second, up to fourth are available to them. But once this teacher has made an assignment, let's say that she decides she wants to assign this geography folder to the student, then that's all they'll be able to do. They won't be able to access anything a grade level below or above. A couple other things I want to point out. They do have the option to have emailing between teacher and student. Students cannot email each other. The community is a discussion board. Sometimes teachers use this with elementary students, but not as often as with middle and high school students. Over here, the portfolio is where they can see their scores. So this is where a student can see how they've done. If a score is underlined because it's a quiz, then they can click on it, see the questions they got from the bank of questions, and then if they got one wrong, we do tell them that it was wrong, but we don't tell them what the correct answer is. So that should they take that quiz again, they can learn from their mistakes. They're not just being told what that correct answer is. There's also some that are not underlined, like the instruction practice here, and that's just that score. Notice that a half blue, half white status means the student was in the middle of an activity and they got out of that. So they didn't actually finish it. Sometimes the NA is because it's a non-scored activity, like the one where we were being taught about solving addition problems with regrouping, and then sometimes it's because they didn't finish. Now I want to log out and take a look at what the parent would see with the parent login. When you log in with the parent login, notice that you're able to see the 3 tabs that students see: recent work, assignment, and reports. You can also click to see how students did on those quizzes. So this is exactly the same as the portfolio for the student by the day, the week, and the month. In the assignment tab, you can see all of their assignments and how they're doing on that assignment. And then on the reports tab, you have access to 3 reports, and there's a description here: attendance report, duration report, and student score report. There's also an icon key where you can see what everything means. Students have this as well in their portfolio. So let's do a quick look at the attendance report. This just lets you see every time the student has logged in and how much time they've spent. The duration report lets you see everything that they worked on while they were logged in. You can preview those activities by clicking on the names here in blue. See what they went through. Here's the one that we just finished about regrouping. And then the last report is the student score report. This one is also available to students in their portfolio. And this report is also available to teachers. So teachers are able to see this as well. Notice the status here. Here's where I can see the quiz scores again with the one that was missed. So you can access everything that they finished. Then here's a quick summary of their activities and their scores. You can click view as a PDF if you wanted to print that. Thank you for going through this quick overview of the Pathblazer Student View for a parent.